End on there. All right, Coach, we're ready when you are.
Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Drinking an exquisite bourbon barreled coffee right now that is off the chart. So if I got a smile on my face, the sun's out and it's a exquisite coffee that I'm drinking this morning. So yeah, we're glad to get off the Northwestern game. I think we learned some things. We've talked about a few things. I really liked our first half, as I mentioned. I thought we were pretty sloppy the second half. I think we had a little mental letdown, but that's beyond us. And we're getting ready to play a team that is playing extremely hard, playing extremely well. They're very confident. We've seen the emergence of Mulcahy turn into maybe one of the league's best guards, in my opinion. He's always been a guy that's been very, very active and all over the court defensively and makes winning plays. And we've seen him blossom into a terrific scorer here in the last 5-6 games for them. So they're long, they're athletic, they're mixing up defenses, they're pressing, they're playing zone, they're playing man, and you put that together, and it's not the same team that we saw the first time around. That's for sure.
Got a lot of guys who match up arguably pretty well with some of their best scorers, and because we're going to talk to Coleman today. Would you talk about his footwork, spacing, trust, positioning, posture, and the other things that he's been working on defensively?
Yeah, everything with Coleman starts more on the defensive side with his base, and Coleman's pretty erect, and he's got great length. And when Coleman stays down and stays low, he can really bother people. It's the old adage: the lower you are, the quicker you are. The lower you are, the stronger you are, and the stronger your base is. And it's one of the things that Coleman keeps working on and is getting better at, is staying lower, especially guarding more perimeter-oriented type guys. You got to have that great foot speed. He's a guy that plays angles great, and his IQ really helps in that area. But he was really good in the last 2 games. So it's something that when Coleman is dialed in defensively and flying around and playing with high energy, he's an elite defender.
Including Coleman, it seems like you've got basically 12 guys to put into a 9-man rotation. Some not necessarily playing one game and playing quite a bit the other. I assume that that's a strategic advantage as you get into this deep in the season where you're playing, traveling a lot.
It can be. It can be. There's no doubt. I think that every game's got its own identity. I think we've got a group of guys that we know we're comfortable with. Seeing the emergence of RJ, I think that that's obviously warranted more opportunities and more minutes. And I think he's a special talent. But I feel comfortable with all those guys, and that's a nice position to be in.
Thanks, Brad.
Coach, these guys are 12-2 at home. What do you think makes them so tough, such a tough out there at the rack?
Have you ever been there?
I have not.
It's another gym. The court's 94 feet. The rims are 10 feet, to use a Hoosiers adage, but the fans are right on top of you. It's it's old as hell. The acoustics are dynamic. Everything reverberates in there. It's the students are right there on you. You literally can't hear, the players can't hear me in a timeout. And there's tremendous energy. There's student impact there is as good as there is in the country. So it's all in all, it's turned into a great home court. Steve should be commended for that, and their players. And it's a sellout. And anytime you get that kind of energy in a building, it can be a positive for the home team.
You said this is a different team than you faced in December. What's different about them, and what are some of the challenges for your team?
They're playing as hard as anybody in the country, and they're really playing hard. And and then as I mentioned in the opening, Mulcahy's turned into a guy that is causing people problems. He's posting up a ton. They didn't have Gio in the first game. We all know Gio's been a guy that's been a all-league caliber player his entire career. He's a great shot maker. So it gives them another bit of offensive punch. You put that backcourt together, and it's pretty doggone good backcourt.
Hey, Brad, I just want to ask, with Trent giving you everything he's given you minutes wise and with the injuries, do you guys have to handle him differently during a week? Do you have to try and give him time off? How do you just kind of handle him?
Yeah, we're more sensitive to it, and I think Trent's grown in that area. I think he's, Trent's never been a guy that's had to just completely dive into recovery and cold tubs. And, he's such a freak athlete that he just bounces back. I think, he understands the importance of sleep. But yeah, we try to, he doesn't fight me to take him out of practice because I think he gets it now. And early on in, even in this year, it was just a constant, coach, I'm not coming out. I'm not, he just, and now he understands the value of it, but he's pretty special that way and from a competitive side, but we try to monitor. Yes.
And just along those lines, what does Andre's impact, the more he gets into the rhythm, help Trent? How do they play off each other and kind of help each other? Well,
it was like yesterday. Great. And Drace tweaked his ankle, sprained it pretty good, and was having a great day the day before the Northwestern game. And those guys were great together. I mean, not good, great together. A year ago when I was out in that segment, and they were good together early. And Trent had some big games, and it's finding the yin and the yang, the matchups on the ball, and who's off of it, and different actions to let both of them excel. And so I feel really good about that chemistry because we're getting some practice time with them, and that's starting to play out pretty well for us.
Thanks, Brett.
Hey, Brad, you talked a few times Sunday just about playing with more pace. What's that ideal look like for you?
Pace is a hard word to describe. For us, it's not speed. It's not shooting it quick. It's not that. Pace is the movement in the half court, the cutting, the ball movement. Getting into ball screens quicker, getting out of ball screens quicker. So the defense isn't as stagnant as much as anything else. The first half yesterday was, or 2 days ago was spectacular. If we can play with that pace in the half court, and it's more a thrust in transition. We're not getting those easy baskets we got with Iowa. We're just not. But it's still has to be an attack mode in transition, and it's not about shooting in under 7 seconds and taking a bad shot just because that's what we want to do. It's about playing with thrust so the defense never gets its feet set.
And I mean, the defense you face is going to have some impact on if you can get that type of pace in the half court. But what can you do to maybe impose your will a little bit more in that regard?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of what we call mass movement plays. We love those mass movement options. We went to it a lot in the Northwestern game, and it was great for us. There's a time for sets and there's a time for mass movement, and I think we've been really good in that balance. And it's one of the things that we can't turn the ball over when we get to that stuff, but there's still tremendous opportunities for us to be successful in both.
Thank you.
Well, first, Brad, I got to know where the coffee's from that you are so fond of.
This is I got to ask Zach where he got it. Zach, we grind our own in the office. And so this is one Zach found. And if you know anything about Hamer, he's a coffee snob. So he's got him, all of his days with the Lakers traveling all over. He's got all these haunts all over the place, but this one is damn good. So I'm gonna have to find out where he got it and make an investment.
Or maybe you can point some of us in the direction of a salad as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely, I'm sure there's a place or two.
With Coleman, Brad, the way your rotation has developed, what's his ideal role for what you guys need down the stretch here?
I think his playmaking, I've always been a big fan of. I think that he's a guy that I think is a good shooter, and he's he lost some confidence there. I think he's gaining that back. But I always see him as a guy who extends the floor. He can pass it. I think that, he made one of the best plays he's made all year because he made a 2-foot jump stop and wasn't flailing around off 1 foot. And then when he plays with great energy, he gives us rebounding. He's very, very effective on the offensive glass. I think he's one of the best offensive rebounders that I've coached here and can impact that a great deal. And so he's got tremendous value because of his skill set and just tightening some things up. He's done that. And now we're starting to see that confidence come back.
With that shooting, he's taken 8 shots in the last 8 games. How do you guys massage that back for him? Or I guess maybe what led to that? Doesn't look like there was one game where you could have said, oh, it went away there.
No, we faced a segment where guys weren't guarding him, teams weren't guarding him. And that gets in you, that can get in your head. That can be a challenge. And the game today is about spacing and creating opportunities. And, if you're not guarding you, that means they're sitting in Kofi's lap. And you got to be tough enough to jump up and confident enough to jump up and make shots when you're not guarded. And sometimes that's not easy. And, but getting yourself in the gym and shooting 500 balls a day, so you feel great about it. That's the work, and he's getting back to that.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, this going back to the rotation, this can be a time of year when coaches shorten up their bench, but seems to be different guys for different games. What's the main driver for you? Is that matchup driven, performance in practice? What's driving that when you decide who gets in?
All those guys are practicing pretty well right now. So it's more matchup and it's more what the game needs. And at that time, the opponent has a little bit to do with that. How they guard, to be honest, how they guard Kofi impacts it a lot, what they're doing, who we play. I think that, RJ's proven now defensively that he can guard a lot of guys and was tremendous on Adiz the other night. So I think there's more impact based on probably the presence of Kofi and what the game needs. And then there's a defensive factor as well. We're trying not to put ourselves at a disadvantage when we make a substitution based on the defensive side.
Do you find yourself following I know the game can swing and maybe surprise anybody, but do you tend to find a plan that you're following in that, or is it more reacting to what the game is and then deciding what pieces to use?
Well, I go in with a plan, but it doesn't necessarily manifest. I mean, I went in the other night knowing we were going to need Luke, and I didn't play him. And it just kind of got going that way. RJ had something to do with that. DeMonte not playing well had something to do with that. But it was what the course of the game brings you, and timeouts in the second half impact that game a lot, in terms of rest. And, we got long timeouts. I mean, when TV, we got 2-3 minute timeouts, and so guys can get rest, and maybe that shortens the bench, and you don't need guys as much based on that. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but there's always a plan or an idea that I have, headed into it.
Hey, thanks much.
Hey, Brad, I know, excuse me. I know, I guess because of injuries and Andre coming back late and players emerging, you haven't really been whole until kind of late in the year. What kind of, I guess, a balancing act does that create with kind of putting your best players on the floor as well as trying not to necessarily tinker too much at the end of the year?
No, there's a lot of truth in that. And, I think the one thing that, we found last year, with Io being out, and we were rocking and rolling. We played great without him. Now, all of a sudden we put him back in and you're like, okay, does that throw off your chemistry? We've had so much of that this year that we've learned to, I think, navigate it pretty well. Now that we are somewhat healthy, closer to it, we're getting a little more practice time under our belt. We're starting to see some chemistry and develop some things and able to work on lineups. We're probably working on lineups and player placement on the court more than we ever have, just simply because of what you said. We've had some challenges, and you want to get your best players with the best chemistry on the court as much as possible.
Yeah, and I guess what are kind of the keys to having to develop that chemistry, I guess, quicker than normal?
Practice, continuity, fluidity, putting guys in positions to be successful. The opponent has something to do with that, how they tag, how they guard ball screens, how they, and so, every game presents itself a different deal. We have what we call the orange card, which is a group of about 10 things that we know we're going to run no matter what. What we see, we feel confident in it. Our guys are good at it. We can tweak something here or there. We've slimmed that down a little bit, and in terms of the play card, so we can get guys really good from a chemistry standpoint at something.
All right, thanks, Brett.
Okay, we've got time for Doug's follow-up, and then that'll be the final question for Coach. Go ahead, Doug.
Thank you. Coach, Jake's been in a little bit of a mini shooting slump. Is there some concern there? And how's he been shooting the ball in practice?
Great. Jake's value goes way, way, way beyond his ability to make shots. He's the guy that stretches the floor, and he's seeing a ton of pressure. People are trying very hard. Most people are trying very hard to take him away because they fear his shooting, and yet he's a gravity guy. So people have to gravitate towards him because he's such a good passer. He finds guys. So the last thing I worry about is Jacob Grandison. He's a guy I trust, and no matter, whether he was 0 for 7 like he was the other night, they were good looks, all but 2 of them. We shot a quadruple pump off the dribble that Lauren wouldn't have made. But he's invaluable to us, and I trust him. And again, when he's on the floor, good things happen for us. No offense, Lauren, but back in the day, you wouldn't have made that shot either that Jake tried.
I don't know. He was a pretty good player for the Sages way back in the day. So,
Well, I'll call bullshit on all that, but I haven't seen it, and it's like it's like going fishing. The fish always get bigger, Kent. You know what I mean?
Coach, no one